I need to find
It's really rich guy who's like a vendor and then he splits up the whole family trying to do good deeds. It's like grand story, but it's all
Hello, welcome. Time to get started, so we're gonna do it. We're so excited that you're here. For how many of you is this the first Constellation? Many. All right, welcome. Welcome back to all of you who I see so many like familiar faces in the room, and that always makes me so happy. This is Constellation number 34. And our readers tonight are Genevieve DeGuzman, Susi, and Preeti Vangani. And you'll hear all about them, and then you'll hear them. So I'm Jessica Johnson. This is Junae Hayworth-Kafka. Armin Tolentino is back there, and Eli right here. Yes, and we are the Constellation crew. So we always do an introduction, and if you were here last time, or if you like know me, I've been on strike with PCC, and that is now over. But it did take nearly a whole month, but we did win. Yeah. And I mentioned that partially because I talked about it last time because I was so freaking tired. But I'm talking about it now because it's been, I've been through some shit this past month. And I think one of the things that I really have experienced is what it's like to come together in a community and tell each other the truth about what is going on when it has been like suppressed. Something I never thought I would experience in community college, to be honest with you. I just didn't think the stakes were that high, but apparently they are. Anyway, I am hopeful. It reminded me of the feeling I sometimes get here at Constellation of people being able to listen to each other and say things that maybe they can't say other places. And it means a lot to me. So thank you for being here. We always say that like Constellation is the vessel and the people who come are who make it what it is. So thank you. And we do take some time in the interest of like saying what's going on and things that are very wrong, naming things that are very wrong. We do take some time at the beginning to gesture at what's happening, even though that's always incomplete. So we want to continue to acknowledge that we're gathering during a time of struggle and violence against many peoples. And, you know, every time we gather, there are more developments in that, it seems. The Palestinian people continue to be brutalized by the decades-long American-funded genocide and colonial violence in Israeli apartheid. We also stand in solidarity with victims of genocide in Sudan and Congo, and with the indigenous peoples of this place, the Multnomah, Kathlamet, Clackamas, Tumwater, and Watwalla Cascade bands of the Chinook, as well as the Tualet and Kalapuya, and many other recognized and unrecognized indigenous nations of the Columbia River. And we invite you to join us in contributing in material ways toward the return of land and the thriving of indigenous peoples. And of course, yes, there's, you know, major, awful, deeply wrong military action in Iran and Lebanon, and bad things in Cuba. I mean, it keeps growing every time we come back here, and I don't always have the right words, so I appreciate your grace. We stand against anti-Blackness and recognize that police violence and all white supremacist violence must be named and opposed. We stand with immigrants, against whom the current federal administration is carrying out acts of violence, imprisonment, and erasure. And these forms of violence, along with transphobic violence being legislated across the United States, endanger the lives of trans, queer, and gender nonconforming and non-binary people. Therefore, as we begin our event, we wish to underscore that none of us are free until all of us are free, and that all anti-racist, liberationist, and anti-colonial struggles are intertwined. And we acknowledge the abundant courage and creativity of interconnected communities and individuals in resistance. And we name these things in order to reach out to each other and make good use of this time. So we are the official reading series of the McCormick Writing Center's residency program, and we deeply thank that some folks affiliated are here tonight, and we thank them for that connection. And we thank Melissa, who is not here, but that's where she would be if she was here. The owner, proprietor, and exceptional curator of Bishop and Wild for the use of this space, without which this event would not be what it is. So, and RAC, Regional Arts and Culture Council, who we have a grant from them, which allows us to keep doing this. Thank you. Thank you. So we're so lucky. And we thank you for honoring our COVID policy, which is masks down here during the reading, not while you're reading. I mean, it's optional while you're reading. And then mask optional space upstairs later where we have food and drinks, and we hope you join us and hang out. You can also hang out here. Okay, we love you. And can I introduce Genevieve?
Hi everyone.
Hello.
It's a beautiful day in a really dark time. I'm always so glad to be here with you all. I'm not a sports person. I guess I like to dance. That's kind of sporty. Do you know when you're like doing something in your body and you're just so present, you're not thinking about all the like bullshit in the world. You're just like, maybe you're playing basketball. Doing sporty things. You're just thinking about the sporty thing. I feel really present when I'm here with you all. Like I'm not in the outside world. I'm just here in this beautiful space with really cool people and really beautiful words. So thank you. And tonight's, every night is special. Every night is special. I love everyone equally. And tonight is extra special because we're featuring Genevieve DeGuzman and her new book. We love you and thank you for being such a part of this community. Genevieve read for us in our very first year, our fourth reading. And yes. And so we've been talking with her and watching this project bloom for years now. And it's here, and I got to hold the book, and I'm seeing it like,
It's like a dream come true.
yes.
For all of
Oh
us.
my God, it's so, that's so cool. Others of you will have books in the world, and we'll
That's right.
get you to read poets.
So celebrate.
We'll celebrate. Yeah, so tonight is like a big celebration of a core community member. We just love you so much, and we can't wait to hear from this book. So Genevieve DeGuzman, she, her, my glasses on, is a poet and writer with work in the, I never know how to say this word, Adroit, Phoebe, Poetry Northwest, Rhino, and other publications. Her poet energy is monster ballads, like an etched deep, radiance that needs dark. A Tin House Workshop alum and Alice James Award finalist, Genevieve has received the Oregon Literary Fellowship, the Storyboard Fellowship from Story Studio, as well as fellowships and support from AWP, the Regional Arts and Culture Council, Poets and Writers, and Vermont Studio Center. Born in the Philippines and raised near San Diego, Genevieve lives in Northeast Portland with her metalhead partner and their unimpressed cat. Karaoke at the End of the World from Jack Lake Press is her debut collection, and we are so excited.
Okay, I'm gonna put my timer on because I actually didn't time my set, and I want. Do we have a time limit on this? They're gonna boot me.
No! Have a cane.
Do whatever you want. Do whatever you want.
You've been here before. You've done this before. Nothing has changed.
Man, okay. A mother tells her child, the world is always ending, so look at the world. What is left of it. Mandala Part 1. A bear mother in the forest wears fish skin for paws. When she wakes one day in that bleak winter, she feels herself opening, giving birth to her cubs on a December morning. She will remember an old throbbing rooted in the keratin scars that carry her. She will remember those distant dreams of wood smoke and blood over coals, of silver dashed scales, tidal froth, hypnotized by the moon. She will remember how something was wrested from the water and pinned on, a pinafore memory, brief as lupine blooms. Thank you. So happy Poetry Month, everyone. Really lovely to be here. I really, like, Constellation is like one of my favorite reading series in town. I feel like it's like my literary home in a way. And so it just kind of feels like a homecoming to come back and read again. It's true, I read back in the early days of Constellation when I was still a baby poet, and I had like all my poems printed out. But so it's just amazing to come back and like have this. So I like to describe Karaoke at the End of the World as an ongoing conversation that I'm having with family and memory and all the things that haunt us. And it lives in the multiverse, and I say the multiverse because I feel like my poems needed that kind of like space to roam. The grief needed that space to expand. And in this next poem, it's actually one of my oldest poems that I wrote for the collection. And I call it my midlife crises poem. Wrote it when I turned 40. It's like 7 years ago. I say that with an ominous voice. And for that one, I thought I would do like collective effort and do some audience participation. So I have some cue cards that I will raise. And whatever's on that cue card, just read really loud with your loudest voice. So I'll have that prepared. So begin. It's called Secret Society of Dodos. The sea ice is melting, and I think of my spoon stirring ice cubes in tall glasses, Coke cans decorated with polar bears sweating on the table, rings atop rings in the grain. I imagine the bear losing all that ground under it, life becoming a high wire act. The transformation will happen fast for the bear, but I'm gradual and slow. I cut time on the wire's edge. I want the methodology of philosophy, the synopsis of trivialities, not beasts on the brink, not beasts gone. But see 3 white rhinos watched by hired guns. See a Tasmanian tiger pacing a pen on black and white film. The Circe's blue, the Polynesian snail, an Atlas bear, answers all of them to time. And of course the dodo, a million years journey, then hunted to the last. Still I want to think they're not all gone, that we'll find a secret society of birds living large. My mother insists. And I say, time? Time makes me betray my own body. I mark time with my periods, every cramp a hash mark on the gunnel. Store time, not in a baby, but slip it inside a ship inside a bottle. The dodo tugging a lever to flare the sails, saying, "It's time, girl," counting the eggs thrown overboard. Someone once told me if I carried a child to term, I'd lose it. But every month is an extinction level event. Fruit of the womb is time, fruit boiled in sugar, fruit rotted to brandy in time. Fruit of summers past, bottled for some future, yet this womb is time travel, of blueberry and boysenberry, of bento box baby carriage, of Bunny Ranch price fixed special.
Limited
Time
offer.
My girls take a number every month and gossip about their gentleman callers to pass the time. The rule is the sea ice protects the shoreline. When you lose that ice, it becomes susceptible to erosion. I know that erosion, like my own body turning menstrual cup into wine goblet, these ovaries into polished ski balls flung. When I think about the last bear becoming timeless, becoming some Ursus Maritimus Phoenician god, I try not to think of this hen getting older, but how good the broth will be. I say, leave the eggs where you found them. When the last bear dies, leave her bones for the sun too. A floodplain will stretch around us. Years will pass, like school. Some of the children make it. They find the secret society. They go bearing fruit.
Woo!
The xenomorph turns 45. Before you blow her to smithereens, Marines, remember that she was once a mother-to-be. She turned 45 and launched herself in a pod with an unbreakable seal that would last 1,000,000 years. Adrift in space, she waited to be retrieved from the darkness like our time capsule golden record etched with rock and roll songs, sung at karaoke parties, and all the hellos in every language. Hello, children. Cherubs pinched apple-cheeked by the sun, envy of the block. Hair glossy dark, sweet whiffs of damp grass and fresh linen. Like Voyager 2 passing Pluto, this brood leaves her a little more each day when she puts on cream to smooth the cracks on her hard-shell beetle body. She cries when her daughter tosses her graduation cap, screams murder when her son skids on his bike, skins new knees. Blood excites her, but not more than the smell of chlorine from the pool, how it boiled off their backs under the summer sun. The male donor is a feminist and holds her hand, admiring the feeling of a body feeding another body. Oh, these tender fictions of children bickering at the jungle gym, their chatter invented atop the merry-go-round. She longs for the way they make believe the make-believe. She longs for a newer, younger body. She wishes to collect milk teeth as tokens to squeeze in hand as she hurtles through the burn. Come home, she thinks, to the stars, with the fervor of every child screwing up their eyes to make a wish to their mothers. Canary dirge. My mother takes a breath for the doctor's stethoscope pressed against her chest. Gentle now, she urges. And somewhere between the breastbone and shoulder blade, a boom. Maganda kanta na yon? She asks. Her body a radio dial swiveled in search of a new song in the ebb and flow of blood, pump of organs secreting melodies for ailing bodies. Discordant throb, and I think about those gongs for miners trapped low and deep in the earth. Only the survivors swing the hammer hard for those waiting above. Sound travels faster than the doctor's voice, so when he gives his prognosis, I listen for the clang, for the beating of drums, for the canary song, cannonade, for the loudest of blows. A little bit of an animal theme here tonight. Anxiety as a bird in need of a wildlife rehabber. I can't even. It's dangerous out there. Window strikes, killing birds by the millions. Death pouring from the skies. The unstoppable forces of bush tits, boobies, and woodcocks meet the immovable objects of 46 floors and reinforced glass. Not a slingshot pebble, not a heat-seeking hellfire missile. Nothing downs a bird as reliably as a clear surface. For self-preservation purposes, I stay away from the light pollution, resist any magnetic field, stay pleated inside airtight containers of obfuscation. Honesty was always the transparency that killed. But every day I'm pinwheeling in rooms full of pristine people, how they wit and gesture and peacock with ease, like champagne poured in flutes. I'll never be those delicious bubbles at parties, neither a goldfinch nor a yellowthroat, rather a firefly, lichen etched deep, man of war, vampire squid. My shine is bioluminescent, sober and drowsed, technically a cold light, radiance that needs dark. In dreams, Mean Girl gives me a round of applause. The cuckoo bird missteps at the wrong hour. At the Ninoy Aquino International Airport in Manila, I once saw a lone egret in the departure terminal gliding back and forth, stopped short by the glass dome, its twiggy feet flexed and grasped at some crystal clarity whose beauty it couldn't behold, but pummeled anyway with its beak. Sometimes a bird gets lost inside a building. Sometimes I get stuck inside a cage. I tried to quiet my thoughts during takeoff. We who require metal, fiberglass, and jet fuel to ascend for the privilege to pee at 30,000 feet. Yet birds have always done it with grace at decent heights, on something as simple as fluff and down. But don't be jealous. That guy Icarus flapped his soft wings and fell. I thought a lot about the trapped bird, wings beating into glass in time to the sound of hands clapping. Afterwards, a broom swept feathers into a dustbin. You think the story is finished, but more bodies rain down. July on the Sonoma coast, 6 months before. I rapped the door of the rental with my knuckles to warn the dormouse that we're back. Mouse made a nest of little pink ones, translucent as skin grapes, tiny as the snake bait secrets we keep. The knocking startles her the way my mother's memories now do. Childhood of bamboo boxcars and eaves noisy with screeching wind beetles tied in twine, flown like kites. Typhoon rains scratching metal, clouding the sharp eye of an equatorial sun. But here we breathe in the foreign spice of a Sonoma fall. Long-toothed grass turning to hay, easterly winds sussing the world. Treetops curling to leaf crackle at our feet. This world floats on this memorial tremolo. Gold-brushed headlands, wet-nosed deer, juniper fire pits. Whether by wind or bullet or ghost story, my mother shifts form to, as she recalls, the widows of her youth. Manangs, huddled near hearth and loom. Witch women who fasted their desires in bone charcoal, pineapple thread, cocoa choir. She longs for the places of smoke and spell work, conjures a country in their naming, Sikihor, Sorsogon, Talalora. My mother wonders if these women were happy making food and cloth for their children. How can I tell her nothing makes up for the warp and weft of hearts undone? In slumber, she unravels as she dreams of the daughters she would have in foreign lands. She doesn't yet hear the summer storms getting close, thunder and lightning falling on the same beat. Doesn't hear the warm blood throb of animal hearts in a summer already gone, seed. Swing back to the beginning. A child asks her mother, what's the difference between a memory and a ghost? This is Mandala Part 2. Back to the bear. In forgetting, a bear mother will storm some abandoned farm. Astonished, she made it without a rifle crack, breaking her resolve. The compost pile will be full of fat grubs, crawling starbursts in her mouth. She will keep no superstitions, freed from the mermaids sutured on her as a bargain. She will feed her cubs this simple paradise, joy ache of slippers of fish slipping off healed limbs, new skin tender but sturdy like her young. She noses their bellies, wades in, awake to the thin membrane of territory and perimeter, awake to the hillsides, inlaid in ash that will one day, demanding to be like eternity, erased and then repeated.
Amazing. Just beautiful. I'm always in awe of poets in general. But those were so beautiful. The language and those images. So rich. Thank you. Congratulations. Paul Paul, we're so glad you could be here.
Yes.
Yay. Thank you. Just a tiny little story. We've had you scheduled. We've been excited about this, and then was it like a week ago, or a couple weeks ago? Emmy Greer with the Buckman Journal was like, you know who you need to have at Constellation. And we're like, happening.
Cool.
I'm surprised she's not here. She's here regularly.
Yeah.
But, she was really excited to learn that you're here. And we're really excited that you're here. Paul also has a newish book out that came out in October. I'm so excited about that. Paul, Susi, he, him is a theater artist, a writer, a social services professional, an educator, and an activist born and raised in Portland, Oregon. As an actor, he has appeared on stage with Salt and Sage, Northwest Classical Theater Collaborative, Shaking the Tree Studios, Island Stage Left in the San Juans, Washington, Shakespeare Santa Cruz, Vermont Stage Company, Teatro Solo Boom Arts, as well as in self-produced original work. In 2018 to 2024, I know this is awesome. Paul toured an Iliad to over 30 prisons, community centers, places of worship, and theaters throughout Oregon with cellist composer Anna Fritz. Paul has been honored to receive the Creative Heights Fellowship from the Oregon Community Foundation, as well as several project-based grants from the Regional Arts and Culture Council and the Multnomah County Cultural Coalition, and an artist residency at Caldera Arts. In 2018, ROC honored Paul for outstanding contributions to local theater and culture. Paul currently serves as the director of the vendor program at Street Roots. The proud son of Filipino immigrants, Paul never went to college.
Yes.
His good choices. First book, when I was teaching and I started advising students to drop out, I was like, I need to resign. His first book, character work, was published in October of 2025. Please help me welcome Paul.
Thank you, everyone. Okay. I'm really honored to be here. It's really just beautiful and magical that we live in this amazing city of culture and art and community. Even though, of course, the planet is on fire and everything is awful, and we're all going to die. But before we die, we get to share this time and space together, and that is a beautiful, beautiful thing. So thank you all for being here. Try not to tip anything over.
It's close.
And I'm going to set a timer so that I don't. That's not the timer. That is the timer. Okay. I don't really know what I'm doing. All right. I'm gonna start with a little bit at the beginning and then jump into the middle, and then we'll be at the end. How does this work? Okay. Years ago, I was working at a transitional housing program for paroled juvenile sex offenders, young men who've committed their offenses when they were minors. They have served their sentences, they've undergone therapeutic treatment, they were now preparing to re-enter society. My manager, John, was a perpetually exasperated, exhausted man who looked at you with watery, skeptical eyes. His job was impossible. Ultimately, he would determine whether any of the young men in the program would get to try their chances in the world or would be remanded to custody. His decisions hinged on whether someone's explanations of themselves, their actions, their mistakes, their progress in therapy, their attempts at restitution, their potential for successful employment, if any of this was credible in his slow blinking eyes. His wife had recently given birth, so his eyes were utterly sleep deprived. He'd noticed that I was reading a novel during my downtime at my post. And one day, he asked if it was any good. I don't remember what book I was reading, but I do remember recommending it to him. I asked him if he liked books. No, he said, not anymore. I have no taste for them, none. I said I didn't believe him. I insisted he must have some favorite books or authors. I used to, he said, rubbing his eyes. But I stopped liking books. One day I realized it's stories. It's all just stories. I'm so fucking tired of all these fucking stories. Since January of 2022, I've been volunteering in different communities in my hometown of Portland, helping unhoused and impoverished individuals replace their lost IDs. I guide these people through filling out the forms and give them advice on how to source proof of ID documents, such as by registering to vote, register to vote, or obtaining a replacement birth certificate. When someone lacks the funds, I've been paying their fees. I hold a notary public commission in Multnomah County, and I use this to issue documents verifying people's identities so that out-of-state jurisdictions can issue them the birth certificate or identity card that they need. I call this small mutual aid project PDX ID Assistance. I am its founder and only volunteer. Caseworkers and community members spread the word about my events, so there's usually a small crowd of people seeking my help. I take care to say I'm not a case manager. I'm not an employee of the organizations that host me. I make a point of helping whoever shows up with whatever identity documentation they're seeking. This includes ID cards, birth certificates, driver's licenses. I write personal checks directly to DMVs or state offices of vital statistics to pay for these items. These are some of the people. Dolores is an older Black woman wearing a bright red coat who has been accessing a food pantry for years. Recently, she noticed that the address sticker on her driver's license had worn off, and she's worried about what might happen if she gets pulled over. Nate lives in a tent in a hidden spot overlooking the river, away from neighbors and noise. His sobriety depends on his ability to keep to himself and away from others. He works long hours in a restaurant and has valid out-of-state ID, but he gets denied when he attempts to access low-cost counseling or food stamps at local agencies. Billy is an older gentleman who lost his dentures in a car accident 1 year ago. He also lost his wallet and has been without ID for 6 months. He compliments me when he notices how I fold a piece of paper in thirds so that it fits cleanly in the envelope. Valerie is hard of hearing. She had just started the process of obtaining documentation affirming her name and gender identity when the national situation worsened considerably, halting everything. Dwayne is a young Black man with 2 years sobriety. He can't get a job without his Social Security card, and he can't get a Social Security card because he was adopted. So the Social Security Administration is requiring extra documentation to verify his name. His adoptive father owned a karaoke bar in Tokyo, and we bond over a shared love of karaoke. Jerry lives in his truck and loves the Miami Dolphins. Iris was a nurse in rural Oregon 30 years ago. Jenny is running away from an abuser and left all her identifying documents behind. She has a lead on a job and is getting aid from a DV shelter but can't get hired without an ID. Ramsey and their partner, Cork, are just trying to get by on the streets after their families kicked them out because of their identities and sexualities. The cops took Cork's ID and claimed to have lost it, and now Cork can't get their prescriptions. After being arrested at a protest, Jimmy spent the night in jail before being released without charges. Cops lost his ID too. Sophie is a single mom working 3 jobs, super capable, resourceful, independent. Lots of people rely on her. She's ashamed that she can't afford to renew her license and didn't realize it was expiring until a week ago when a cop let her off with a warning. Bobby has been 86'd from services at every agency around town because of violent and hateful language and behaviors. When he's not using, he's quiet and soft-spoken. But when he's loaded up, he's a terror to everyone around him. His mom died, and he couldn't fly home for the funeral, and now he can't get his inheritance until he can produce a birth certificate. His grief is making him realize things he didn't know before. Rachel taught middle school before retiring. When her wife passed away, her life fell apart and she lost her housing. Vincent is from American Samoa, an unincorporated territory of the United States. He is considered a non-citizen national with no voting rights. Unfortunately, this means that he can't be helped by any agency here in Oregon, nor will the federal government help him, even though he was brought here to work. Vincent looks just like my grandfather. Alice is a student at Portland State University who left her purse on the Max last week. Robbie recognizes me from a homeless shelter I used to run 8 years ago. Molly asks me for help every 6 months or so. She's always wearing torn clothing and keeps getting her stuff stolen or lost in the sweeps. She's never actually made it to the DMV with the check I write for her, but she's working up the courage to do it soon, and I tell her to keep coming back. She refuses further offers of help. I always worry for her. Braden ran away from North Carolina when their family rejected their life choices. It's been rough the last few years, but they're starting to find community and belonging at the library. We bond over a shared love of Herman Melville. Boyd brings his neighbor Perry to see me. Perry has lived outside for at least 20 years, and she's beloved by her housed neighbors in the quiet neighborhood next to the creek where she's camping. Recently, her eyes have been getting worse, and Boyd wants to help her get a doctor, but Perry doesn't have ID. She realizes she needs to get one before things get more complicated. Jose lost his ID and green card, but has his birth certificate from Guatemala and social security number and pay stubs. Barlow drops by to thank me for helping him with his ID and passport. Last time I saw him, he was in a wheelchair with a broken leg and a back injury, and the pain was overwhelming. He was losing hope that he'd ever recover, and he dreaded returning to the shelter every night. After getting the ID, he was able to sort out his benefits and his insurance. He's a big, tall man with a surprisingly soft voice, and now he's walking around without even a limp. He's saving up for a trip somewhere, anywhere. He tells me he doesn't care where he goes. He didn't understand until he got it that having the passport means he's a real human being. He can make his own choices for himself. That's when everything turned around for him. He got into housing, he's working, he's reconnecting with his family. He'll send me a postcard when he gets where he's going. Most of the people I see come to me after being denied services at the DMV or elsewhere. Few know where to begin to obtain their birth certificates. For many people born in a state other than Oregon, the notarization requirement makes it nearly impossible for service organizations to meet the need. The places where notaries are typically employed aren't known for being welcoming to poor people. Faced with this absurdly complex problem, many of my shelter guests chose to focus on other easier questions in their day-to-day lives, like where to camp after the expiration of their shelter stay, and where to collect cans for the bottle deposit refund. It's easy to see why. Imagine the challenge of proving your legitimacy without the benefit of a home where you can securely store documents. Imagine being subject to encampment sweeps that lose people's essential property as a matter of routine. Imagine facing this challenge without the benefit of ready money or credit cards, without families, without loved ones you can call upon for help, without friends or colleagues to vouch for you. Imagine that this process is just the first of many complex and shaming challenges you'll face before people will treat you like a human being again. Seeing people struggle with lack of ID made me angry, so I chose to address this problem directly. After leaving my position as a shelter manager, I saved a small sum in a separate checking account, and I launched PDX ID Assistance. I keep no records of the people seeking my help. From time to time, friends and strangers support this work by writing personal checks or making Venmo payments directly to me. I have not started a nonprofit organization because I'm reluctant to be controlled by arbitrary bureaucratic requirements. This is why I never went to college. Limiting whom I can help or where, and because I see how starved for resources and how politically vulnerable most existing nonprofits are. I have no desire to add to the noise of fundraising appeals and donor drives we're all inundated with every giving season. Iris, one of the people I helped to get an ID today, was trying to thank me and said, "Your mother must be proud of you." I told her that no. My mom never forgave me for not becoming a priest like she wanted me to. Iris then told me about how she had once been a nurse at a rural Catholic hospital many decades ago. Her boss was a strict Carmelite nun, Sister Mary Catherine, not pleasant to work for. One night, Iris and another nurse were in the staff dressing room quickly getting ready for an incoming trauma surgery case. They were short-handed that particular evening, so Sister Mary Catherine was supposed to be scrubbing in with them, but to their surprise, the nun was reluctant to change in the dressing room with the other nurses. But there was no choice. The patient was already in the operating room. They were running out of time. And that's when Iris and her colleague learned that Sister Mary Catherine favored bright red, very racy Victoria's Secret-style lingerie under her nun's habit. Iris and her colleague couldn't stop laughing all through the surgery, and Sister Mary Catherine stopped being a hard-ass boss after. 1 minute, okay, 1 minute. On another day at another resource center, a group of 10 Chinese immigrants crowd into the conference room I'm using as a temporary office. I usually see people 1 or 2 at a time to protect the confidentiality of their personal information, but these 10 insist on being seen as a group. I'm grateful that they insist because this makes things much easier for translation purposes. The 10 are all members of the same extended family, and they are all neighbors in one apartment building here in Portland. They're all nervous about real ID. All of them are legal Chinese immigrants to the United States with permanent resident cards, as well as valid, regular Oregon IDs. Real ID is an enhancement that requires stricter scrutiny of ID documents and costs an additional $30 fee on top of whatever other fees you may pay for renewing or replacing your ID. As of 2025, a Real ID enhancement is required to access nuclear facilities and government buildings, and to board domestic flights without a passport. The Real ID Act of 2005 stipulates that IDs complying with the law be referred to as REAL space ID. But that name is not an acronym. The capital letters are meaningless. Another nonsensical feature of a profoundly nonsensical system. Usually when people seek my help with Real ID, I explain that the only situation in which they are likely to need such an ID is boarding a domestic flight. I tell them that you need to have a passport, a birth certificate, 2 pieces of mail sent from a government or a utility to your residential address before the DMV will issue you the Real ID. You can already board a plane with a passport, so if you have that, you don't really need the enhancement. If after I explain all of this, a person still requests my help, I offer to pay a portion of the fee directly to them using a personal check made out to them. The DMV does not always accept my checks for Real IDs. I don't know why. To replace a valid regular ID costs $40. To replace a valid driver's license costs $30. To renew an expired ID costs $43. To renew an expired driver's license is $54. To issue an original ID is $47, and to issue an original driver's license is $64 plus the test fees. If you find those fees and acronyms as confusing and frustrating as I do, please know this is intentional. Leaders and policy makers create systems designed to confuse, exhaust, and demoralize anybody trying to pay attention and scrutinize these details. Most of us only absorb what we absolutely need to know and discard the rest as noise. There's so much confusion, so much injustice, so much cruelty, so much carelessness in the world. We have to pick our battles. The 10 Chinese neighbors don't want my help obtaining real IDs because they have plans to fly to San Diego. They're concerned that the services and protections that they currently enjoy with their regular IDs and permanent resident cards will soon be withdrawn, and the lack of an Oregon-issued real ID will be cited to justify imprisonment or deportation. I have no idea if this will happen, but as the son of immigrants myself, I share their anxiety that things that we were told were certainties are now variables. I write each of them checks for $70, the full amount of replacing a generic ID plus the real ID enhancement. One by one, the elders bow and clasp my hands with gratitude. I think of my late mother, who was half Chinese, of similar stature and manner as these bird-like matriarchs with their meticulously kept documents and their sensible shoes. I don't have words for the feelings I feel.
Thank you, Paul. That was dope. Yeah. I am so excited to introduce Preeti Vangani. We know each other from a tin house workshop, which would now be McCormick Writing Center. Current happening today. We've had many other occasions actually to get together. Preeti hosted me when I was in San Francisco for my book, and I was thinking about how to, well, there are many, I know many special things about Preeti's writing, and I never want to say too much because you're just going to hear it, but the ability to combine the raunchy and the profound is actually really something in Preeti's work. I don't know if that's the set we're going to get tonight, but I always am like, whoa, that's skills. Preeti Vangani is a poet and writer from Bombay, based in San Francisco. She's the author of the poetry collections Mother Tongue Apologize, 2019, and 50 Mothers, out just this spring from River Books. Her work has appeared in, this is the one I don't know how to pronounce, Agni, the Georgia Review, Gulf Coast, Prairie Schooner, among other places. Her debut short story won the 2021 Penn Dow Emerging Writers Prize. Vangani has been a resident at UCross, Jurassic, and Rakedale. She's received artist grants from San Francisco Arts Commission, YBCA, and the Barbara Deming Memorial Fund. She holds an MFA in writing from University of San Francisco and teaches in the program. Give it up for Preeti.
A pleasure to be here. Do I sound good?
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you so much, Jessica. My God, our friendship is so special. I moved from Bombay to San Francisco 10 years ago. And very early in my writing life, I came here to study poetry after working in marketing for 8 years, which I said goodbye to. And I'm so lucky to live a life in poetry now. And Jessica is one of my earliest friends, thanks to Tin House, now McCormack. And we met basically in this building, and from here we went to the Sylvia Beach Hotel on the coast to write poems and read poems for 4 days. Thank you so much for continuing to be my friend, and to the whole Constellation team for having me here. I'm so lucky. This book is to continue the theme of matriarchs, called 50 Mothers. Our common friend Deshaun has made me promise him that my next book be called 100 Mothers. I don't know about that, but this book is for my mother, who we lost 18 years ago. My mother passed away very quickly to cancer, and also for my father, who is going to turn 69 very soon. And of course, I make fun of him and that number, and he gives out a psychotic laugh. Under the lining in Papa's cupboard drawer hide biodatas of potential brides. At our coffee table, I cut the tiniest hole in the restaurant's knotted chutney packet, hand my father the scissor to cut open the tied bag of vadas already losing their crunch. He motions for the metal to be put down, then lifts it up, because we believe that passing sharp objects by hand leads to a fight. We share one bowl, tear the dosa straight from the single leaf it came wrapped in. Less mess, less dishes. We are a ministry of less. We are 4 eye bags and a race to the remote's volume up button. I switch the channel to comedy. The canned laughter disturbs my father. They think we're not smart enough to understand when to laugh. He scoffs, leaving to wash his hands. Between our leftovers, the scissor lies split open. Isn't Mummy smiling too big in this funeral photo we've chosen? Were she here, there would be no takeout, no shared leave, no blades while eating. That woman could unfasten any knot. Once we finished 12th grade in India, we are told to pick between commerce, science, and arts. I'm like, oh God, of course, arts is for the dumb kids, so nobody wants to, make their kids go there. And my mother pushed me into, and father pushed me into commerce and economics to not make money, just have a degree and get married. My mother picked a concentration called home science, which in the 80s was very popular, especially for women. And she wanted to go to only a girls' college, which a lot of us cousins think was perhaps code for the fact that, she was queer and she didn't know it. We like to believe in it because she cross-dressed a lot. Anyway, this poem is called Home Science. Mummy is helping me assemble a scrapbook featuring 200 women scientists. Genius seems so damn achievable. I haven't yet aged into bullying her for dropping out of college, that she was forced to drop. With every degree I land, I will go on to widen my disdain for her simpleness. How she butchers the word penicillin, pastes on the fancy paper a headshot of Madame Curie. I will go on to learn that success for scientists and poets is an epiphany, and success for a pupil is perfection. Aren't I a perfect pupil? How I sicken at the glue lines bleeding from under her book. It feels like cheating on my gone mother, driving my father to a whole other city to wet a potential match the matchmaker found him. My father, who thinks the kitchen is too much of a journey to get himself water, traveling over 100 kilometers, windows down, drumming the dashboard, singing a 90s song in which the hero romances a debutante half his age. Who bailed him out of the grief prison so quick? Loneliness, lunchtime sadness, the lack of home-cooked meals, lust, but shouldn't sex have become a chore by now? The promising partner is nothing like Mum. It's not like she'll be your mother, he had consoled me mid-song. I want to like her heady jasmine perfume. Above all, I want this to end. and it does. She's not into him, or he doesn't consider her pretty enough. We leave. And after he too leaves me, I wonder, how will I meet my eyes, knowing a part of me wanted far more than love for him to be alone? So there is, I'm going to take a leap of faith, and I hope that if I fall, this room will catch me. You all seem like nice people. Okay, so this is a longer poem. This is the title poem in the book, which appears as vignettes, but I wrote it as a longer piece, and I'm going to try and do this with the powers of my aging memory. Let's go. 50 mothers. I have 50 mothers total. 4 are my mother's real sisters, 45 are cousins. I call them all Masi, meaning like mother. But when your original mother dies, likeness dies, and you land up with 50 mothers. My mother died when I was 21, the age she was when she became a mother. After my original mother died, my oldest mother's hair started falling out in clumps. My youngest mother slid into a depression. Nowadays, in place of lithium, she swallows TikTok videos of a god man who rides Harley Davidsons and accepts donations on crypto. I have a mother who thanks God that her husband is hard of hearing. I have a mother who wants to be absolved by God. I have a mother who poured curses hot as melting iron into my original mother's ears for oversalting the potatoes. At the funeral, the same potty-mouthed mother rocked like a possessed saint reading the Bhagavad Gita over my mother's still warm corpse. Kill me for wanting to bleach her mouth, for wanting to kick her out of my country of loss. I have a mother who injects my mother tongue's vowels into English, calls rainbow, rainbow, sweater, sweater, latest, latest. As 50 plus offspring laugh at her English in English, she laughs back in the mother tongue. She does not give up on laughing or on English. I have a mother who was born her father's color, charcoal, charcoal. Each morning, she washed her dark son in goat's milk down to his nubby testicles. I have 2 twin mothers who married twin brothers, and at their wedding reception, I heard one of the brother husbands say to the sister wives, "When I blow my fuse at you, I will get away by saying it wasn't me, it was my brother." My original mother died before I could tell her that my husband calls my breasts Lisa and Rebecca. My mother's tumor was in her Lisa. One mother says the easiest way to trick happiness into your nostrils is to burn a bay leaf at dawn. In my mother tongue, there is a proverb that goes, "Jamande mane ghutto diya, to kedo na sutto theya." Wouldn't we all be happier had your mother choked you at birth? I have a mother who sits in a chair with needles poking out of her fingertips and toes, one sticking out from the center of her nape. This mother believes a shorty never a bride makes. So when I was 12, she dragged my original mother and I to a special healer who weighed over 150 kilos. And to squeeze out centimeters from girls' heads and tails, he laid them on his floor face down and walked on their backs. I lay on his floor face down. His feet heavy as iron. What am I so angry about? That he split open my back into weeks of pain? Or that my original mother, who often whispered in my ear, "You need to study so you learn to be independent," was so entirely hypnotized by her own sister's fears? At the funeral, one mother gossiped that my mother died because the medicine she took to boost her natural milk was carcinogenic. No, it couldn't be, another mother consoled me with the velvet of her hands. Besides, your mother had quickly shifted to formula. But I couldn't believe that my hunger wasn't the reason why my mother was wrung out like a raisin. In the center spread of her college diary, my mother wrote in big block letters, "You must be happy with yourselves." How did we get here, mother? You must be to a place where happiness too is a chore. One mother said, my mother died because she faced a mirror when she woke up in the morning. Seeing yourself in the mirror as you get up in the morning will kill you. It's simple science. Another said, like, don't you get it? Your mother had what her mother had, depression. The root rot or infestation that is not allowed outside of our throats. It hangs inside our bodies over our esophagus like a beware of dog sign. One mother wasn't ready to believe that my mother died. Another was too eager and said yes because she had already dreamt my mother dying. One mother decided to let go of what my mother owed her, sandwich money and a recipe for pista kulfi. My 4 mothers dressed my gone mother's body in bridal maroon. They did not let me enter the room. Sometimes we love by closing a door. My mother's mother died by jumping from the balcony. But in my dream of mothers, a minute before my young grandmother jumps, my 5 mothers are downstairs creating a palanquin with their hair. When my grandmother takes a leap, she jumps back into the balcony and goes on to attend all the 50 mothers' wedding, busting out pelvic thrust to Damadam Mast Kalandar, her neck lifted upward, the whole sky entering through her slowly falling teeth. She dies instead at 82 or 87 of perfectly boring and perfectly natural causes, aquatic lung or cardiac cacophony. The mother who herself suffers swollen knees won't call my rheumatism anything else but that thing in your fingers. Don't put it in your marriage biodata, she says. What doesn't show won't hurt. But what about the blooming penises I've curled my arthritic fingers around? Should I enter those? My mother fed me soup of goat leg to fatten my calcium. Whether with tumor or not, she smothered her rosary day and night chanting, forgive God, forgive, 1098 times. Forgive for what I wanted to scream. You eat 5 fruits a day, drink 8 glasses of water, while your husband smokes a pack or 2, and yet I've not heard a word of forgiveness emerge from his starred lungs. One mother said, in order to move on, keep no photos of your mother around, not even one. When will you start behaving like your feet are on this ground? What had happened on this ground is that my mother died of a cancer which could have been avoided had the male doctor not insisted. We tried to preserve the woman's breast until it absolutely needs to be dispensed with. I have 50 mothers and I have one father. He yawns a lot. Like a sheep's bleat, like a dog startled by a drunk's tire screech. And in his yawns, I hear the female oncologist telling him after my mother's relapse, you look like such a well-educated man, sir. How did you fall for another man's spiel of vanity? My body is an apothecary filled with 50 mother's cures, yet I do not know how to heal my father. When he moans in sleep talk, I told him, doctor, I told him, cut it off, cut it off. Lisa and Rebecca are also thankful. With this book, my first book was also for my mother. I think losing a mother so young is like an equator running through my life before and after. But in this book, I took it upon myself to try and walk away from the sadness that is so central to an elegy, and I wanted to write elegies that were joyful. In order to honor the more playful and humorous side of my mother, and writing in my gone mother's voice, there are several poems in the book in her voice, kind of got me closer to Project Joy. So this is not me, my mother. My gone mother wants me to love myself, says, so your oldest friend turned out to be a Republican. Isn't it great you two didn't fuck? No, you don't look like a puffed up bag of chips in that dress. Listen, a sparrow cheeps at the kitchen window, short buzz, long trill, the frill of your nightie against mine at nap time. Your skin is so oily, how is America not fracking on your T-zone? I'm packing multani mitti in your bag of walnut scrub, honey with cinnamon, and have you tried praying? God is an easy customer. I wish you said I love you to me as you did to the boys in college. Is this what we gave you freedom for? HPV? Nothing apple cider vinegar can't cure. When your grandmother died, I was back to cooking dinner the same night. Dal, chawal, fulka, crispy aloo, everything the way your father likes it. I liked Varun. Why did you leave him? Are you ever happy? You'll find a Mills and Boone in my side drawer. Go to page 71. Page 71. Where's that unicorn you promised me? Asks Miranda. Oh wait, never mind. I can feel it in your trousers. If you don't finish your beer, use it as hair conditioner. If you can't find alcohol, spit on the wound. Marriage means sacrifice. Your father's heart attack is not your fault, and cigarettes are healthy for bad marriages. Take care of your teeth. I found you. I found you on a Thursday in the rain, water gushing in and out of your gumboots. I held you up by the waist and did not let go until I lay you in the room where I sang and waited and sang. Sorry, I fell asleep. Okay, I'll read the last poem in the book and then call it to a close. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for laughing. Thank you for being here, fellow readers. I am so much richer for your words. Thank you. What this elegy wants is to never be caught alone at an Italian bakery, buying a dozen cream horns, half confessing, half flirting with the uninterested cashier. These are my mom's favorite. Are, not were, not the quiver in the finger over the cursor contributing to a cancer research fund. How much giving, after all, is good enough for grief to give up? How much research? I have seen my father research a new bride, second chance and clean start and well-meaning aunts. I have seen my mother's white nightie hang on the bathroom door like a god's robe, have bitterly judged the divine Rogan Josh the new mother cooks against my own mother's, frowned at the lack of fluff in her rotis, the tiniest flaw in her chutney. Her every sincere endearment a splinter in my ears. Grief, you grumpy mother-in-law, this elegy is tired of you. As in housewife tired. As in housewife staying quiet about abusive husband tired. As in, if my mother were to see me, which I'm certain she can, as I rummage through the squalor of grief through a portal where cream horns are unlimited and free, she'd continue to snack unbothered with flakes of pastry sprouting on her chin and say, exhausted yet excited as she so often was when chasing down a cockroach, scurrying around the house with a long broom, a task both barbaric and bewildering. How once she had the apocalypse surviving beast trapped in the broom's hairs, she'd smack the jharu over and over against the floor and with her other hand draw out the wiggling enemy by its antenna, fling it right outside the window with a "go be free," as if that freeness was hers.
Holy crap, what a night. That was amazing. The books are all over there, all three of them. Woo! If you want to come back to Constellation, and maybe you do, we're here on the second Thursday of the month, except July and December. And please do come back, whether you have a reason to or not. Say hello, make some friends. There's food and drinks upstairs. We don't want to take it home, so enjoy yourselves. Have a great time. Thank you for being here.
Yeah.